When Nia Carter kissed a complete stranger to escape her toxic ex's public humiliation, she thought it was just a desperate moment she'd never speak of again. But that stranger turned out to be Ethan Hale, a secret millionaire hiding his fortune to find genuine love, and what started as an impulsive lie became the most dangerous truth of her life, because Marcus, her manipulative ex, wasn't done destroying her. He knew her darkest secret, the one she'd buried deep where no one could find it. And as Ethan's wealthy family circled with judgment and Marcus stalked her with threats, Nia realized she'd have to choose: protect her heart and run, or risk everything for a love that seemed too good to be true. Subscribe and comment below if you've ever had to rebuild your life after betrayal, because this story is about to prove that sometimes the bravest kiss is the one that changes everything. The restaurant hummed with Friday night energy, clinking glasses, soft laughter, the warm glow of Edison bulbs hanging from exposed brick walls. Nia Carter smoothed her hands over her navy dress for the third time, trying to calm the flutter in her chest. She'd chosen a corner table, tucked away but not hidden, the kind of spot that felt safe for a first date after months of being single. Across from her, Derek scrolled through his phone again. "Sorry," he mumbled, not looking up. "Work thing." Nia forced a smile and took a sip of water. The ice had melted 20 minutes ago. She told herself this was fine. Normal even. Everyone was busy these days, but her stomach twisted as she watched his thumbs fly across the screen, his eyes never quite meeting hers. She'd met Derek through a friend of a friend. He was nice enough on paper. Good job, decent smile, showed up on time. But sitting here now, watching him ignore her for his phone, Nia felt that familiar ache creep in. The one that whispered she wasn't interesting enough, wasn't worth someone's full attention. Stop it, she told herself. You're done thinking that way. Breaking up with Marcus 3 months ago had been the hardest thing she'd ever done. 2 years of her life spent walking on eggshells, apologizing for things that weren't her fault, shrinking herself to fit into his idea of who she should be. She'd promised herself, promised Tasha, promised her mama that she wouldn't settle again. And yet here she sat, across from a man who couldn't put his phone down for an hour. "So," Nia said, trying one more time, "you were saying something about your trip to—" "Hold on." Derek raised one finger, his eyes still glued to the screen. "Just 1 second." Nia's jaw tightened. She glanced around the restaurant, suddenly aware of how many happy couples surrounded them. To her left, a pair held hands across the table. Behind them, a man made his date laugh so hard she snorted. Even the elderly couple by the window looked more engaged than she and Derek did. Heat crept up her neck. This was a mistake. She should have stayed home. Should have listened to that voice that said she wasn't ready. Should have. The air shifted. Nia's whole body went rigid as a familiar laugh cut through the restaurant's pleasant buzz. No, not here. Not tonight. She turned her head slowly, praying she was wrong. But there he was. Marcus. Her ex-boyfriend stood near the entrance, his arm draped around a tall woman in a red dress. His dark eyes scanned the room with that confident swagger she used to find attractive, back before she knew what it really meant. Back before she understood that his confidence came from making others feel small. Their eyes met. His face split into a grin, the kind that made Nia's stomach drop. "Oh no," she whispered. Derek finally looked up from his phone. "What?" But Marcus was already moving toward them, weaving between tables with purpose. The woman in red trailed behind him, looking confused. "Nia!" Marcus's voice boomed across the restaurant. Several heads turned. "Nia Carter! Wow! Small world!" She couldn't breathe. Her hands gripped the edge of the table so hard her knuckles went pale. "Marcus," she managed. "Hi." He stopped at their table, hands in his pockets, rocking back on his heels. Everything about his posture screamed ownership, of the space, of the moment, of her past. "You look nice. Really nice." His gaze swept over her in a way that made her skin crawl. "Didn't expect to see you out. You know, after everything." Derek frowned, finally putting his phone down. "Do you two know each other?" "Oh, we know each other." Marcus's grin widened. "Nia and I were together for 2 years, but I guess she's moved on." He tilted his head, studying Derek with mock curiosity. That was fast though, real fast. Nia's face burned. Around them, conversations had quieted. People were watching now, probably wondering what the drama was about. "Marcus, please." "What?" He spread his hands, all false innocence. "I'm just saying hi. Can't I say hi to an old friend?" He emphasized the word friend like it was a joke. "Though I gotta say, Nia, you always did have a type. Guess you're still looking for someone to save you, huh? The words hit like a slap. All those old feelings came rushing back. The shame, the smallness, the sense that somehow everything was her fault. Marcus had always been good at that, making her feel like she was the problem, like she was too needy, too emotional, too much and not enough all at once. Tears pricked at her eyes. No, she wouldn't cry. Not here, not in front of him. Derek shifted uncomfortably. Look, man, I think you should... Desperate, Marcus said, his voice just loud enough to carry. That's the word I'm looking for. You look desperate, Nia. Sitting here with Mr. Cellphone trying so hard to prove you're over me. He laughed, shaking his head. It's actually kind of sad. Something inside Nia snapped. Not with anger, though anger was there, hot and fierce, but with something else. Something like survival instinct. She couldn't just sit here and take this. Not again. Not after everything she'd done to get away from him. Her eyes darted around the restaurant, wild, searching for escape, for anything, and landed on a man sitting alone at the bar. He was maybe 30, with sandy brown hair and sharp features softened by the low light. He wore a simple grey sweater and jeans, nothing fancy, but something about him seemed solid, steady. He was nursing what looked like bourbon, watching the baseball game on the TV above the bar, completely unaware of the disaster unfolding 10 feet away. Nia didn't think, she just moved. She pushed back from the table, her chair scraping loud against the floor, and crossed the space between them in 5 quick steps. The man at the bar turned at the sound, his eyes widening in surprise as Nia approached. "I'm so sorry," she breathed, and then she kissed him. For half a second the stranger went completely still. Nia's heart hammered against her ribs. What was she doing? This was insane. This was... Then his hand came up to rest gently on her waist. He was kissing her back. The shock of it nearly made her pull away, but then she remembered Marcus was watching. Marcus, who'd spent 2 years telling her she wasn't good enough, that she should be grateful he put up with her, that no one else would ever want her. Marcus, who was standing right there with his new girlfriend, trying to humiliate her in public. So Nia leaned into the kiss. The stranger tasted like bourbon and something spicy, maybe cinnamon. His lips were soft but sure, and he didn't push, didn't demand, he just went with it. Like kissing random women in restaurants was something he did every day. When they finally broke apart, Nia's head was spinning. The man looked at her with eyebrows raised, a slight smile playing at the corners of his mouth. Behind them, Marcus had gone silent. Nia turned, keeping one hand on the stranger's shoulder for support, or maybe just for courage. She faced her ex with her chin raised, her heart still racing but her voice steady. "Actually, Marcus, I'm here with him." The stranger didn't miss a beat. He slid off his bar stool, wrapping his arm around Nia's shoulders, like they'd done this 1,000 times. "Sorry, man," he said to Marcus, his voice casual and friendly. "Didn't realize you knew my girlfriend." He glanced down at Nia with a warmth that made her knees weak. "How long has it been now, babe? 6 months?" 7, Nia heard herself say. 7 months. The look on Marcus's face was worth every bit of the insanity. His jaw had gone slack, his eyes darting between Nia and the stranger with something like disbelief. The woman in red tugged on his arm, clearly ready to leave. "You've been..." Marcus sputtered. 7 months? But we only broke up 3... Oh. The stranger's expression shifted to something like understanding. "You must be the ex." He said it kindly but with a finality that made Marcus flinch. "Well, good to meet you. Nia's told me a lot. Marcus looked like he wanted to say something cutting, something cruel, but the words wouldn't come. Not with this stranger's arm around Nia, not with her looking up at him like he'd just saved her life. "We should get back to our table," the stranger continued smoothly. "We're celebrating tonight. Anniversary and all." He squeezed Nia's shoulder gently. "It's nice to meet you, though." He guided her away, his hand steady on her back, leaving Marcus standing there like a storm that had blown itself out. They didn't go back to her table where Derek still sat looking bewildered. Instead, the stranger led her to his spot at the bar, pulling out a stool for her. Nia sank onto it, her legs shaking so badly she thought they might give out. "Thank you," she whispered. "Oh my God, thank you." He settled back onto his own stool, that slight smile still in place. "No problem, though I gotta say that was one hell of a greeting." Nia covered her face with her hands. "I'm so sorry. That was... I don't know what came over me. He was standing there saying all these things and I panicked and you were right there and... Hey." His voice was gentle. "It's okay, really." She peeked at him through her fingers. "You're not mad? That a beautiful woman kissed me out of nowhere?" He considered this, tilting his head. "I've had worse Fridays." Despite everything, Nia laughed. It came out shaky, but real. The bartender appeared, eyebrows raised. The stranger, God, she didn't even know his name, ordered another bourbon and looked at Nia questioningly. "White wine," she managed. "Please." They sat in silence for a moment. Nia could feel eyes on them from across the restaurant. Marcus had left with his date, thankfully, but Derek was still at her table, now definitely looking at his phone again. She should probably go explain, apologize, something, but her body felt like it was made of lead. "So," the stranger said, once their drinks arrived, 7 months, huh? We've been together 7 whole months and this is the first I'm hearing about it." Nia winced. "I really am sorry. That was completely crazy. Little bit." He took a sip of his bourbon. "But effective. Your ex looked like someone had slapped him with a fish." Another laugh bubbled up. "He deserved it. I'm guessing he's the reason you were looking so miserable a few minutes ago." Nia's cheeks heated. "You saw that? Hard not to. Guy was making a scene." He paused. "The desperate thing was way out of line, by the way, in case you were wondering." Something in her chest loosened. "Thank you. I'm Ethan." He held out his hand like they were meeting at a business conference, instead of in the aftermath of the world's most bizarre fake relationship. She shook it. His grip was warm and solid. "Nia." "Well, Nia, since we're apparently celebrating our 7-month anniversary, you should probably know some things about me. I'm terrible at remembering birthdays. I can't cook to save my life, and I have strong opinions about baseball teams." "Is that what you were watching?" She glanced at the TV. "Red Sox game. They're losing, which is basically their brand at this point." Nia found herself relaxing despite the chaos of the last 10 minutes. There was something easy about Ethan, something that made her feel like maybe this wasn't the worst thing that could have happened. "What about you?" he asked. "What should I know about my girlfriend of 7 months?" She played along, grateful for the lightness. "I'm a morning person, which you probably hate. I stress bake when I'm anxious. And I apparently make really impulsive decisions when my ex shows up at restaurants. That last one seems pretty specific." "Yeah." Nia wrapped her hands around her wine glass. "That's kind of a new development." Ethan's expression softened. For what it's worth, he seemed like a piece of work. "He is." The words came out before she could stop them. "Was. He was. We broke up 3 months ago and I thought I was doing okay, but then he just showed up with someone else and started saying all these things." Her voice cracked. "Hey." Ethan touched her arm briefly, then pulled back. "You don't have to explain." But suddenly Nia wanted to. Wanted someone to understand why she'd done something so reckless, so completely out of character. "He made me feel small. For 2 whole years he made me feel like I wasn't enough, like I was lucky he stayed with me." She looked down at her wine. "And then tonight, seeing him with her, hearing him call me desperate in front of everyone, you took your power back," Ethan finished quietly. Nia looked up at him, surprised. That's what that was. He gestured vaguely toward where Marcus had been standing. "You refused to be small anymore, you just did it in a slightly unconventional way." Tears welled up again, but this time they felt different, cleaner somehow. "I kissed a complete stranger." "You did." Ethan raised his glass in a mock toast. "And you probably gave that guy something to think about for a while. I'd call that a win." They clinked glasses, and Nia realized she was smiling, really smiling, not the forced thing she'd been doing with Derek. Derek. "Oh no." She turned on her stool, looking back at her original table. "I should probably—" But the table was empty. Derek had left, probably mortified by the whole situation. Nia couldn't even blame him. "I think your date bailed," Ethan observed. "Can't imagine why," Nia muttered. Then, surprising herself, she started laughing. Not the shaky kind from before, but real laughter that came from deep in her belly. The absurdity of it all hit her at once. The terrible date, Marcus's appearance, the impulsive kiss, poor Derek fleeing the scene. It was like something out of a bad romantic comedy. Ethan joined in, his laugh low and warm. When they finally caught their breath, Ethan signaled the bartender again. "We should probably eat something," he said, "since we're here anyway, and since it's our anniversary." "You don't have to." "I know." He met her eyes, and there was something kind in his gaze that made her throat tight. "But I'm hungry, and you've had a rough night, and honestly, I'd like the company." Nia hesitated. This was crazy. She'd just kissed this man without permission, dragged him into her mess, and now he was offering to buy her dinner. But something in her, the same impulsive part that had launched her across the restaurant, said yes. "Okay," she said softly. "Thank you." They moved to a small table in the back corner, away from the main dining room, and its lingering stares. Ethan insisted she order whatever she wanted, waving off her protests about prices. They settled on sharing appetizers, truffle fries, calamari, and some kind of fancy bruschetta. "So," Ethan said once the waiter left, "do you make a habit of this? The dramatic public kissing thing?" Nia nearly choked on her wine. "No, God, no, that was literally the first time I've ever done anything like that." What changed? She thought about it, really thought about it. "I guess I got tired of being the victim in his story. Marcus always made everything about him. His feelings, his needs, his version of events. And tonight he was trying to do it again. Make me look pathetic in front of everyone." She met Ethan's eyes. "I didn't want to be that person anymore. The person he said you were." "Yeah, for what it's worth," Ethan said, "I don't think you're that person. That person wouldn't have had the guts to do what you just did. Kiss a stranger? Stand up for yourself." He smiled. The kiss was just the method. Their food arrived, and they fell into easier conversation. Ethan asked about her work. She told him about her job serving tables at a cafe downtown, how it wasn't glamorous, but she liked the regulars, liked being around people. He seemed genuinely interested, asking follow-up questions, laughing at her stories about difficult customers. When she turned the questions back on him, he got vaguer. He worked in tech, he said, doing consulting stuff. It wasn't very interesting, he claimed, changing the subject quickly. Nia noticed but didn't push. After everything she'd put him through tonight, he was entitled to some privacy. They talked about books, movies, the best pizza places in Charleston. Ethan had moved here 2 years ago, he said, and was still finding his favorite spots. Nia, who'd lived here her whole life, promised to make him a list. "A list," he repeated, amused, "for your fake boyfriend." "Ex-fake boyfriend," Nia corrected. "Since we definitely just broke up after you forgot our 7-month anniversary, I knew I was forgetting something." They were both laughing again when Nia's phone buzzed. She pulled it out, and her smile faded. A text from Marcus. "You move on fast. Don't embarrass yourself again." Her hands shook, just like that. All the warmth from the last hour evaporated, replaced by cold dread. Because this was how Marcus operated. He couldn't let things go, couldn't let her have peace. He'd keep picking at this, keep finding ways to make her feel small. "You okay?" Ethan's voice cut through her spiraling thoughts. Nia locked her phone. "Yeah, just him. Already starting." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Starting what?" "The mind games. The little digs. He'll text me for days now trying to make me feel guilty or stupid or—" She broke off, hating how pathetic she sounded. "Block him." "What?" "Block his number." Ethan said it like it was the simplest thing in the world. "Right now. Don't give him the power." "But what does he deserve from you, Nia? Really? After 2 years of making you feel small, after showing up here tonight specifically to humiliate you, what does he deserve?" "Nothing," Nia realized. He deserved absolutely nothing. Her fingers moved before she could second-guess herself. 3 taps and Marcus's number was blocked. The relief was immediate, like setting down a heavy bag she'd been carrying too long. "There," she breathed. "Done." "How does it feel?" "Scary." She looked up at him. "But good. Really good." Ethan smiled, and something in his expression made her heart skip. Not because he was handsome, though he was, she definitely noticed that, but because he looked at her like she was capable of big things, brave things, like she was someone worth believing in. They finished their meal, and when the check came, Ethan wouldn't even let Nia see it. He paid in cash, leaving what looked like an extremely generous tip, and stood to help her with her coat. Outside, the April air was cool and fresh, carrying the salt-sweet smell of the harbor. Nia breathed it in deeply, feeling lighter than she had in months. "Thank you," she said, turning to face Ethan, "for everything. For playing along, for dinner, for getting kissed by a beautiful woman." He grinned. "Like I said, I've had worse nights." "I should probably get your number," Nia said, then realized how that sounded. "I mean, just so I can pay you back for dinner. You don't owe me anything." "Still," he hesitated, then pulled out his phone. They exchanged numbers, and Nia tried not to notice how her heart fluttered when his name appeared in her contacts. "Ethan Hale." "Get home safe," he said. "And Nia, for what it's worth, I think you're pretty brave." She watched him walk away, his hands in his pockets, disappearing into the Charleston night. It was only when she reached for her own phone to call an Uber that she realized something was sitting on top of her purse. A business card. Simple, cream-colored with just a name, Ethan Hale, and a phone number. No company, no title, no email. Just his name. Nia turned it over in her fingers, smiling to herself. Maybe impulsive decisions weren't always bad. Maybe sometimes they led to exactly where you needed to be. Saturday morning sunlight poured through the kitchen window of Nia's apartment, turning Tasha's dark skin golden as she laughed so hard she nearly spilled her coffee. "Stop!" Nia groaned, covering her face with her hands. "It's not funny." "Girl, you kissed a complete stranger," Tasha wheezed, wiping tears from her eyes. "In the middle of a restaurant to get back at Marcus. How is that not the funniest thing you've ever done?" Nia peeked through her fingers at her best friend. Tasha sat cross-legged on the kitchen counter, something she always did despite Nia's protests, wearing purple silk pajamas and her natural hair pulled up in a pineapple. She'd shown up at 7 in the morning demanding details after Nia's cryptic text last night. "You won't believe what I just did." "He could have been anyone," Nia said, dropping her hands. "He could have been married or a creep or—" "But he wasn't." Tasha pointed her coffee mug at Nia. "He played along, bought you dinner and gave you his number. That's not a creep. That's a keeper. I'm not keeping him, it was just a one-time thing." "Uh-huh." Tasha took a long sip, eyeing Nia over the rim. "So why'd you save his number?" Heat crept up Nia's neck. I had to. He gave it to me." "And you're gonna call him?" "No, I'm not." "You're totally gonna call him." Nia threw a dish towel at her, which Tasha caught easily, still grinning. The truth was, Nia had thought about Ethan approximately 17 times since waking up. His smile, the way he'd wrapped his arm around her like it was natural, how he'd looked at her when he said she was brave. She'd even Googled him at 6 in the morning, sitting in bed with her laptop. But Ethan Hale brought up too many results. A lawyer in Boston, a dentist in Portland, a teenager's TikTok account. Nothing that matched the man from the restaurant. "What are you thinking about?" Tasha asked, her voice softer now. "Nothing." "Liar." Nia sighed, refilling her own coffee. "I'm thinking that last night was insane and I should probably just forget about it and move on with my life." "Why?" "Because I don't know anything about him, Tasha. He could be anyone. So find out." Tasha hopped down from the counter. "Text him, ask him to coffee. See if last night was a fluke or if he's actually cool." "I can't just—" "Yes, you can. You literally kissed the man without asking. Coffee's nothing compared to that." Nia's phone buzzed on the counter. Both women looked at it like it might explode. "If that's Marcus," Tasha said darkly, "I swear, I blocked him." Nia felt a little surge of pride saying it out loud. "Last night," Tasha's eyes went wide. "You blocked Marcus, really?" "Ethan told me to." "Oh, Ethan told you to." Tasha's grin returned full force. "Okay, I officially like this man." The text wasn't from Marcus, thank God. It was from the cafe where Nia worked, asking if she could pick up a shift. Nia's stomach sank. She'd been hoping for a quiet Saturday, time to process everything, maybe deep clean her apartment, while pretending she wasn't thinking about a certain sandy-haired stranger. But she needed the money. Rent was due in a week, and her tips from Thursday had been pathetic. "Work?" Tasha guessed, reading her expression. "Yeah, 2 to 8. "Well, at least you'll be distracted." Tasha grabbed her purse from the couch. "I gotta get to the salon anyway." "But Nia, seriously, text him. What's the worst that could happen? He could think I'm crazy." "Baby, he already knows you're crazy. You kissed him in public." Tasha paused at the door, her expression turning serious. "But he also saw you stand up to Marcus. He saw you be brave. Don't waste that." After Tasha left, Nia stood in her small kitchen, holding her phone and staring at Ethan's contact. Her thumb hovered over the message icon. What would she even say? "Thanks again for pretending to be my boyfriend. Sorry for assaulting you with my lips." She set the phone down. Work first. She'd figure out the Ethan situation later. Maybe. Probably not. Definitely later. The cafe sat on a busy corner downtown. All exposed brick and hanging plants. The kind of place that charged $8 for avocado toast and got away with it because the coffee was that good. Nia had worked there for almost a year, and she knew every regular by name and order. She tied her apron, tucked her hair back, and tried to sink into the familiar rhythm of work, taking orders, making small talk, refilling coffee. It was mindless in the best way, letting her brain drift while her body moved on autopilot. She was wiping down a table by the window when a voice behind her said, "Need help with that?" Nia turned and dropped her rag. Ethan stood there, holding a to-go cup, wearing jeans and a navy Henley that made his eyes look impossibly blue. He had the nerve to smile at her like this wasn't the most awkward moment of her entire life. "Hi," he said. "Hi." Nia's voice came out strangled. She bent to pick up the rag, her face burning. What are you doing here? Getting coffee. He lifted his cup as evidence. I come here sometimes. Good espresso. You come here. Sometimes. Sometimes. Are you okay? He looked genuinely concerned now. You seem stressed. Nia realized she was still bent over, clutching the rag like a lifeline. She straightened quickly, smoothing her apron. I'm fine. Just surprised. I didn't think I'd see you again. After you kissed me and bought me dinner. You bought me dinner. Details. His smile widened. Technically, we went Dutch. My treat. Your table. Despite everything, Nia felt herself smiling back. There was something about his energy that was contagious, a lightness that made her forget to be nervous. So this is where you work, Ethan said, looking around. Nice place? It's a job. Nia twisted the rag in her hands. Not very glamorous, but hey, his voice dropped, becoming serious. Don't do that. Do what? Apologize for your life. You did it last night too. It's a bad habit. Nia blinked. No one had ever called her out on that before. She opened her mouth to argue, then realized he was right. She was always doing that, minimizing herself, apologizing for things that didn't need apologies. Sorry, she said automatically. Then, catching herself, I mean, it's okay. Ethan's expression softened. But you don't have to shrink for anyone, Nia, especially not for me. The moment stretched between them, warm and strange. Nia was acutely aware of the other customers, the sounds of the espresso machine, the way her co-worker Jamie was definitely staring at them from behind the counter. I should get back to work, she said quietly. Right, of course. Ethan took a step back but didn't leave. Hey, my friends are doing trivia night at Murphy's pub, tomorrow evening. Would you maybe want to come? Nia's heart jumped. Trivia? I know. Super exciting, he grinned. But there's beer and wings and my friend Sarah is terrifyingly competitive, which makes it entertaining. Plus it might be fun. If you're free. She should say no. She should keep this simple. Thank him again for last night. And let it end there. Getting involved with someone new when she was still healing from Marcus seemed like a terrible idea. But when she looked at Ethan, she didn't feel the same anxiety she'd felt with Derek. She felt curious, safe even. Okay, she heard herself say. Yeah, I'd like that. His whole face lit up. Great. I'll text you the details. After he left, Jamie materialized at her elbow. Who was that? No one, Nia said quickly. That was not no one. That was a very cute someone who made you smile like you just won the lottery. It's complicated. Is he the reason you kissed that random guy last night? Nia whirled. How do you... Babe, you're trending on Charleston gossip TikTok. Someone filmed the whole thing. Jamie pulled out her phone and sure enough there it was. Grainy video of Nia crossing the restaurant and kissing Ethan, Marcus's shocked face in the background. Nia's stomach dropped. Oh my God, don't freak. It's actually kind of iconic, like woman gets revenge on toxic ex vibes. The comments are mostly supportive. Jamie scrolled. See? Go girl. She said not today, Satan. That man is fine. I need to sit down. You need to tell me everything. But before Nia could respond, her manager Carlos poked his head out from the kitchen. Nia, you got a delivery up front. Confused, Nia walked to the pickup counter. Sitting there was a small bakery box tied with twine, her name written on top in neat handwriting. She opened it carefully. Inside were 3 perfect macarons, lavender, rose and honey, and a note card. For your stress baking habit. Though these probably won't help since you didn't make them. Nia pressed her fingers to her mouth, fighting a smile so wide it hurt. Jamie read over her shoulder and squealed. Oh, you're done for. Maybe she was. Sunday evening, Murphy's pub buzzed with the pre-trivia crowd. Grad students, young professionals, a few older regulars who came for the shepherd's pie. Nia arrived 15 minutes early, her stomach a mess of nerves. She'd changed outfits 4 times. Too dressy, too casual, trying too hard, not trying at all. She'd finally settled on jeans, a soft pink sweater, and the gold hoops her mama had given her for Christmas. Tasha had given her a pep talk over FaceTime. You're a catch. He already likes you. Stop overthinking and just have fun. Easy for Tasha to say. She wasn't the one about to meet a stranger's friends after kissing him in public. Nia spotted Ethan at a long table in the back. He waved when he saw her, his face breaking into that easy smile that did stupid things to her heartbeat. She weaved through the crowd, clutching her purse. You came, he said, standing to greet her. I said I would. I know, but after yesterday I thought you might have decided I was weird. You? I'm the one who attacked you. Fair point. He gestured to the table where 3 other people sat. These are my friends. Everyone, this is Nia. A petite Asian woman with bright red lipstick stuck out her hand first. Sarah. I'm the terrifyingly competitive one Ethan mentioned. Emphasis on terrifying, added a tall black man with glasses. I'm Marcus. Wait, no. He froze. I'm Devon. Devon. My name is Devon. Everyone stared at him. There's already a Marcus in her life, he explained miserably. Bad Marcus. I'm Devon. Nia couldn't help it. She burst out laughing. Nice to meet you, Devon. The third person, a woman with long brown hair and kind eyes, smiled warmly. I'm Beth, and don't worry, we're all a little weird. Nia slid into the seat next to Ethan, her shoulders relaxing. His friends were normal, nice. They didn't seem to know about the kiss, which meant Ethan hadn't told them. She appreciated that more than she could say. They ordered a pitcher of beer and an obscene amount of wings. The trivia started and Sarah immediately took charge, writing answers in neat block letters while muttering about strategic category selection. She's pre-law, Ethan whispered to Nia. Everything's a competition. I heard that, Sarah said without looking up. Nia found herself relaxing into the evening. The questions were fun, pop culture, history, random science facts. Her team was good, really good, and she contributed where she could. When a question about Motown came up, she knew it instantly. The Supremes, she said. 1964. Ethan looked at her with something like awe. How did you know that? My mama loves Motown. I grew up on it. They got the point, and Sarah high-fived her across the table. Okay, I like her. Can we keep her? She's not a puppy, Devon said. She's better than a puppy. She knows trivia. Beth laughed. Welcome to the group, Nia. You're officially adopted. Something warm bloomed in Nia's chest. She hadn't realized how much she'd missed this, sitting with people, laughing over nothing, feeling like she belonged. Marcus had slowly cut her off from her friends, always finding reasons why they couldn't go out, why her people were too dramatic or a bad influence. By the end, it had just been him and her, and that isolation had been its own kind of prison. But here now, with these strangers becoming friends, she remembered what it felt like to be part of something. Halfway through the trivia, Ethan's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and Nia saw his expression shift. Just for a second, a flash of something like tension before he schooled his features back to neutral. Everything okay? She asked quietly. Yeah, just work stuff. He silenced the phone and set it face down on the table. Nothing important. But Nia had seen the caller ID before he flipped it. Mr. Hale Sr. His dad, maybe. She wanted to ask, but didn't want to pry. They barely knew each other. Still, she filed the moment away, curious. They won second place in trivia. Sarah was devastated at not winning, and the group lingered over their empty plates, telling stories and trading insults. Nia learned that Devon was a teacher, Beth worked in marketing, and Sarah was in her last year of law school. They'd all met through Ethan, apparently, though the details were vague. How do you all know each other? Nia asked. A beat of silence. College, Ethan said quickly. We went to college together. Well, some of us, Beth added. Devon, I met through work. It felt like there was more to the story, but before Nia could dig deeper, Sarah launched into a dramatic retelling of their worst trivia loss, and the moment passed. The night wound down. Outside the pub, the April air had turned cool, carrying the smell of rain. Ethan walked Nia to her car, his hands in his pockets. Thanks for coming, he said. My friends loved you. They're great. Nia hugged herself against the chill. Really great. So, he rubbed the back of his neck, suddenly awkward. Can I see you again, like not at your work or in a group setting, just us? Her heart did that stupid skip again. Like a date? If you want it to be. Or we could call it two people getting coffee. Whatever feels less scary. Nia thought about Marcus, about how scared she'd been to trust again. But she also thought about the macarons, about Ethan's easy laugh, about how he'd told her not to apologize for her life. A date, she said firmly. I'd like to go on a date. His smile could have lit up the whole street. Yeah. They stood there for a moment, neither quite ready to leave. Then Ethan's phone buzzed again. He pulled it out, glanced at the screen, and his jaw tightened. Sorry, he muttered. I need to... It's fine, go. He hesitated, like he wanted to say something else, but the phone kept buzzing. Finally, he squeezed her hand quickly, the touch sending electricity up her arm, and stepped back. I'll text you, he promised. About the date. Okay. Nia watched him walk away, answering the phone with a clipped, "Hello." Even from a distance, she could hear the tension in his voice. Who was Ethan Hale, really? And why did it feel like he was hiding something? Monday morning, Nia woke to her phone ringing. Her mama's face filled the screen. A photo from last Christmas, Ruth Carter smiling wide in her nurse's scrubs and Santa hat. "Morning, Mama," Nia said groggily. "Don't you morning mama me. Why am I hearing from Sister Pauline at church that you kissed some man at a restaurant?" Nia sat up so fast her vision swam. "What? Pauline's daughter was there Friday night. Said you walked right up to a white boy and planted one on him in front of everybody, including Marcus." Ruth's voice carried that particular mix of concern and curiosity that only mothers could master. "Now, baby, I know you and Marcus split up, but, Mama, it wasn't like that. So you didn't kiss a stranger. I mean, I did, but—" Nia Michelle Carter, the full name. She was in trouble. Nia explained the whole story. Marcus showing up, the humiliation, the impulsive decision, everything. Ruth listened without interrupting, which was somehow worse than being lectured. When Nia finished, there was a long pause. "So this Ethan," Ruth finally said. "You seeing him now? We went to trivia night. We might go on a date." "Might. Probably will." Another pause. "Baby, I love you. You know that. But you just got out of a bad situation with Marcus. Are you sure you're ready for something new?" The question hit harder than it should have. Was she ready? She didn't know. She just knew that when she was with Ethan, she felt like she could breathe. "I don't know, Mama," Nia admitted, "but I want to try." "Then try, just be careful. Protect your heart." Ruth's voice softened. "You've been hurt enough." After they hung up, Nia sat in bed, staring at the ceiling. Her mama was right to worry. Nia had a pattern, diving into relationships too fast, giving too much, losing herself. She'd done it with Marcus, and look how that turned out. But Ethan felt different, didn't he? Her phone buzzed. A text from Ethan. "Wednesday night. There's a spot on the pier I want to show you." Nia smiled despite her doubts. It's a date. She could be careful and brave at the same time, right? Wednesday evening arrived wrapped in golden light, the kind that made Charleston look like a postcard. Nia met Ethan at the pier where sailboats bobbed in the marina, and the air tasted like salt and possibility. He was already there, leaning against the railing, and when he saw her, his whole face softened into a smile. "Hey," he said, "hey." They fell into step beside each other, walking along the pier as the sun dipped lower. Ethan pointed out boats, told stories about learning to sail as a kid, about summers spent on the water. "Where'd you grow up?" Nia asked. "Connecticut. Small town. Very traditional." Something in his voice suggested traditional wasn't entirely a good thing. "My family's still there, mostly." "You don't visit much?" "Not as much as I should." He glanced at her. "What about you? Charleston, born and raised?" "Born, raised, and probably gonna die here," Nia said. "My whole family's here. Mama, cousins, aunts, uncles. We have Sunday dinners at my grandma's house, and if you miss one, you're basically disowned." Ethan laughed. "Sounds nice. Close." "It is. Sometimes too close. Everyone knows everyone's business." She thought of Sister Pauline seeing her kiss Ethan, but I wouldn't trade it. They walked in comfortable silence for a while. The pier stretched out before them, empty except for a few joggers and an old man fishing. Ethan stopped at the very end, where the wooden planks met open water. "This is my favorite spot," he said. "When everything gets too much, I come here just to think." "What do you think about?" He considered the question, his eyes on the horizon. "Who I am versus who people think I am. If I'm doing the right thing, if I'm being honest or just hiding." The vulnerability in his voice made Nia's chest ache. "What are you hiding from?" "Expectations." He turned to face her. "Everyone wants something from you, you know. They look at you and see what they want to see, not who you actually are." "Marcus used to do that," Nia said quietly. "He'd tell me who I was supposed to be. Quieter, prettier, more grateful. After a while I forgot who I actually was. And now? Now I'm trying to remember." She met his eyes. "It's harder than I thought it would be." Ethan reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "I think you're doing pretty well." The touch sent warmth flooding through her. They were standing so close now, close enough that she could see the flecks of grey in his blue eyes, could count his eyelashes if she wanted. "Ethan," she whispered. His phone rang. The sound shattered the moment like glass. Ethan jerked back, fumbling for his phone, his expression shifting to something like frustration when he saw the screen. "I'm sorry," he said. "I have to." Take it. Nia stepped back, giving him space even though disappointment coiled in her stomach. He answered with a terse, "Hello," then walked a few feet away, his back to her. Nia couldn't hear the words, but she could read his body language, tension in his shoulders, the way his free hand clenched into a fist. "I can't right now," he said, loud enough for her to catch. Then, quieter, "Yes, I know what they want. Tell them I'll have it by Friday." When he hung up, he looked exhausted. "Work?" Nia asked. "Yeah, sorry, bad timing." "It's okay." But it wasn't, not really. This was the second time his phone had interrupted them, and both times he'd looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. They walked back toward the parking lot, the easy warmth from earlier replaced by something heavier. Nia wanted to ask what was wrong, wanted to understand what made him look so conflicted, but she didn't know if she had that right yet. At her car, Ethan caught her hand. "I had a really good time tonight," he said, even with the interruption. "Me too. Can I see you again?" "You keep asking that like I'm going to say no." He smiled, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. "I guess I'm just making sure." Nia squeezed his hand. "I'm not going anywhere, Ethan." He pulled her into a hug then, sudden and tight, his face buried in her hair. "Thank you," he murmured against her temple. For what, she wanted to ask, but she just held him back, feeling his heartbeat against her chest, steady and sure. When they finally pulled apart, Ethan kissed her forehead, soft and sweet and somehow sadder than it should have been. "Good night, Nia." "Good night." She drove home with her radio off, replaying the evening in her mind. The good parts, his stories, the pier, the way he'd looked at her, and the strange parts, the phone calls, the tension, the feeling that he was carrying something heavy he wouldn't share. At home, she found a note slipped under her apartment door. Her heart sank before she even unfolded it. "You always did fall fast. Hope this one doesn't break your heart. M. Marcus." Marcus had been to her apartment. Nia's hands shook as she locked the door, checked the windows, looked through the peephole twice. She'd blocked his number, but she couldn't block him from her physical space. He knew where she lived. He could show up any time. The realization hit her like cold water. This wasn't over. Marcus wasn't going to let her go that easily. And whatever she was building with Ethan, this fragile, hopeful thing, Marcus would do everything in his power to destroy it. Tuesday morning, Nia woke with Marcus's note still clutched in her hand. She'd fallen asleep on the couch, too anxious to go to her bedroom, jumping at every sound in the hallway. The paper had crumpled in her fist overnight, but the words were still clear enough to read. "Hope this one doesn't break your heart." She wanted to call someone. Tasha, her mama, even Ethan. But what would she say? That her ex had left a creepy note and now she was scared in her own home. It sounded dramatic when she put it like that. Marcus hadn't threatened her. He'd just reminded her he was there, which was somehow worse. Her phone buzzed. A text from her cafe manager. "Can you come in early?" Megan called out sick. Nia stared at the message. The thought of leaving her apartment made her stomach twist, but staying here alone all day felt worse. At least at work she'd be surrounded by people. "Be there in 45, she typed back. She showered quickly, checking over her shoulder at every sound, got dressed in the bathroom with the door locked, made coffee she barely drank. The whole time, Marcus's note sat on her counter like a living thing. Finally, she took a photo of it with her phone, just in case, then ripped it into tiny pieces and threw them away. She wouldn't let him have this power over her. She wouldn't. The cafe was slammed when Nia arrived. Some kind of business conference had let out early, and suddenly they had 50 people all wanting complicated drinks at once. Nia threw herself into the chaos, grateful for the distraction. She was making her third cappuccino when her manager Carlos pulled her aside. "Hey," he said, keeping his voice low, "someone paid off your tab." Nia blinked. "What?" "The community fund thing. Remember you signed up a few months back when rent was tight, said you'd pay it back when you could?" She remembered. It had been February, right after she'd left Marcus and needed to find her own place. The cafe had a fund for employees going through hard times. Nothing huge, just enough to cover essentials. Nia had borrowed $300 for her deposit and had been paying it back $20 at a time. "Someone cleared it," Carlos continued. "The whole thing. Anonymous donation." "That's—" Nia's throat went tight. "Are you sure?" "Checked this morning. Your balance is 0. He squeezed her shoulder. "Must have a guardian angel looking out for you." Not an angel, Nia thought, as she returned to the espresso machine. Ethan. It had to be. The timing was too perfect, but how had he known? She'd never mentioned the fund, never told him she was struggling with money. which meant he'd either figured it out on his own or... Her co-worker Jamie appeared at her elbow. "Your cute guy is here again." Nia looked up. Sure enough, Ethan stood at the counter, hands in his pockets, that soft smile on his face. When their eyes met, he gave a little wave. "I got this one," Jamie said, smirking. "Go talk to your boyfriend. He's not my..." "Girl, please. That man looks at you like you hung the moon. Go." Nia untied her apron with shaking hands and walked over. Ethan's smile widened as she approached. "Hey," he said. "Thought I'd grab coffee before my meeting." "Was it you?" His smile faltered. "Was what me?" "The fund. The community fund at work. Someone paid it off." She searched his face. "Was it you?" Ethan's expression shifted, guilt flickering across his features before he could hide it. "Nia, it was you." She didn't know whether to feel grateful or angry. "Why would you do that?" "Because you needed help." "You don't know what I need. We barely know each other. I know you work hard. I know you're trying to get back on your feet after leaving a bad situation." His voice dropped. "And I know that sometimes people need help, but are too proud to ask for it. So you just paid my debt? Without asking me? Would you have let me if I'd asked?" "No, exactly." He ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. "Look, I know it was overstepping, but I saw an opportunity to help, and I took it. I'm not going to apologize for that." Other customers were starting to stare. Nia could feel Jamie watching from behind the counter, probably recording this for later gossip. She grabbed Ethan's arm and pulled him toward the door, outside into the bright morning. On the sidewalk, she turned to face him. "You can't just throw money at my problems, Ethan." "I'm not throwing money." "Yes, you are. The bill at the restaurant, the fund, probably other things I don't even know about yet." She crossed her arms. "I'm not a charity case." "I never said you were." "Then why are you doing this? Why are you..." She broke off, suddenly understanding. "You think I need rescuing?" "No." He stepped closer. "I think you're strong and capable and doing fine on your own. But everyone needs help sometimes, Nia. There's no shame in that. There is when it comes from someone who won't even tell me what he does for a living." Ethan froze. "What? You said you work in tech, doing consulting stuff." She made air quotes. "But you never give details. You always change the subject. And now you're casually paying off debts like it's nothing." She shook her head. "Who are you, Ethan?" He opened his mouth, closed it. She could see him calculating, trying to decide what to say. "I'm just..." he started. His phone rang. They both looked at it. The same name on the screen. Mr. Hale Sr. "Don't," Nia said quietly. "Please don't answer that right now." Ethan stared at the phone like it was a bomb. It rang once, twice, 3 times, then stopped. "I should go," he said, his voice rough. "I'm sorry, Nia, for overstepping, for..." He gestured vaguely. "All of it." He walked away before she could respond, leaving her standing on the sidewalk with more questions than answers. That evening, Nia sat on Tasha's couch, eating ice cream straight from the container, while her best friend paced the living room. "So let me get this straight," Tasha said. "Mystery man paid your debt, won't tell you about his job, and keeps getting weird phone calls from someone named Mr. Hale Sr., his dad, I think. And you're worried because he's hiding something." Nia gestured with her spoon. "Big something. And I just got out of a relationship full of secrets and lies. I can't do that again." "Okay, but Marcus's secrets were about controlling you. What if Ethan's just private? There's private, and then there's whatever this is." Tasha stopped pacing and sat down next to her. "Did you Google him?" "Of course I Googled him. Nothing came up. That's weird in itself. Everyone's online nowadays." Tasha grabbed her laptop. "Let me try." They spent the next 20 minutes searching every variation of Ethan Hale they could think of. Ethan Hale Charleston, Ethan Hale Tech, Ethan Hale Consultant. Nothing matched the man Nia knew. "It's like he doesn't exist," Nia muttered, "or he's really good at staying off the grid." Tasha closed her laptop. "Look, I know you're scared. After Marcus, anyone would be. But Nia, this guy likes you, really likes you. I saw the way he looked at you at trivia. That doesn't mean... And he's been nothing but kind. Maybe a little too generous, but kind. He hasn't tried to control you or make you feel small. He's just there, supporting you." Nia wanted to argue, but Tasha had a point. Ethan had never once made her feel less than. Even this morning, when they'd argued, he'd respected her feelings. He'd walked away when she needed space. "What if he's married?" Nia whispered. "Girl, no. That man is not married." "How do you know?" "Because married men don't look at other women the way he looks at you, trust me." Tasha squeezed her hand. "Give him a chance to explain. Maybe his job really is just boring tech consulting and he doesn't want to talk about it. Maybe his dad's an asshole and he screens his calls. There could be totally normal explanations. Or he could be hiding something big. Or that. Tasha handed her the ice cream. But you won't know unless you ask. Really ask. No letting him dodge the question. Nia's phone buzzed. A text from Ethan. I need to tell you something. Can we meet tomorrow? Her heart started racing. He wants to meet tomorrow. See? He's gonna explain everything. Tasha grinned. Told you. Or he's gonna break up with me. You're not even together yet. He could preemptively break up with me. That's not a thing. But Nia couldn't shake the anxiety coiling in her stomach. Tomorrow felt impossibly far away and much too close all at once. Wednesday morning arrived grey and drizzly, the kind of weather that matched Nia's mood perfectly. She'd barely slept, running through every possible conversation in her head. What if Ethan was married? What if he was in witness protection? What if he was secretly a spy? You've been watching too many movies, she told her reflection. They'd agreed to meet at a coffee shop near the harbour. Neutral territory, public but quiet. Nia arrived first, ordering a latte she couldn't taste and claiming a table by the window. Rain streaked down the glass, turning the world outside soft and blurry. Ethan walked in exactly on time, shaking rain from his jacket. He looked tired, Nia noticed, like he hadn't slept either. Hi, he said, sliding into the seat across from her. Hi. For a moment they just looked at each other. Then Ethan took a deep breath. I owe you honesty, he started. You were right yesterday. I've been vague about my work, about my life, and that's not fair to you. Nia's hands tightened around her cup. Okay. The thing is, he paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. My family has money, a lot of it, and I've spent my whole life watching people change when they find out. They either want something from me, or they see me differently, or they... He broke off, frustrated. I just wanted to meet someone who liked me for me, not for what I have. Relief flooded through Nia so fast she felt dizzy. That's it? Your family's rich? That's not it for most people. I'm not most people. I'm starting to realize that. He smiled slightly. But there's more. My dad, Mr. Hale Sr., he runs a tech company, a big one, and I work there. Not as a consultant, as more than that. How much more? I basically run the daily operations. Dad handles the board and investors, but the actual work, that's me. He rubbed his face. I know I should have told you sooner, but every time I tried I got scared you'd see me differently. Nia processed this. Rich family, big tech company. That explained the phone calls, the nice car, the way he could casually pay off debts without blinking. What's the company? She asked. HaleTech. We do cloud infrastructure and data security. She'd heard of it. Everyone had. HaleTech was huge, the kind of company that made headlines when they acquired smaller competitors. So you're, what, a millionaire? Technically, yes, but it's not like... He was stumbling over his words, nervous in a way she'd never seen him. I live simply. I don't flaunt it. Most people who know me have no idea. Your friends at trivia know? Yeah. They're some of the only people who know everything and treat me normal. Nia sat back, trying to reconcile this new information with the man she'd been getting to know. Ethan, who bought coffee at her cafe, who played trivia and made bad jokes, who'd played along with her crazy fake boyfriend scheme without hesitation. Why didn't you tell me sooner? She asked quietly. Because I like being just Ethan with you. Not Ethan Hale, son of Richard Hale. Not the HaleTech heir. Just me. His eyes met hers, vulnerable and earnest. And I was afraid if you knew everything would change. You were afraid I'd want you for your money. It's happened before. Nia thought about Marcus, about how he'd made her feel small and worthless, about how she'd stayed because part of her had believed him when he said no one else would want her. And now here was Ethan, afraid of the opposite problem, afraid people only wanted him for what he had, not who he was. They were both damaged, she realized, just in different ways. I don't care about your money, she said firmly. It's nice that you have it, I guess, but that's not why I... She caught herself. That's not why I like spending time with you. His whole face softened. Yeah? Yeah. She reached across the table, taking his hand. But Ethan, no more secrets. If we're going to do this, whatever this is, I need honesty. Complete honesty. I can do that. And no more paying off my debts without asking. That one's harder. He smiled. But I'll try. They sat there holding hands across the coffee shop table, while rain pattered against the windows. Nia felt something loosen in her chest, something that had been tight since Marcus's note. "There's something else I need to tell you," she said. "Marcus came to my apartment, left a note under my door." Ethan's grip on her hand tightened. "What kind of note?" "Nothing threatening, just letting me know he was there, that he's watching." She pulled out her phone, showing him the photo she'd taken. "I ripped up the original, but I saved this, just in case." Ethan's jaw clenched as he read. When he looked up, his eyes were hard. "This is harassment. It's just a note. It's intimidation. He's trying to scare you." He stood up. "We should file a police report." "Ethan." "I'm serious, Nia. This isn't okay." "I know it's not okay, but what are the police going to do? He didn't threaten me. He just left a note." "He came to your home, which isn't illegal if he knows where I live." Ethan looked like he wanted to argue more, but he sat back down, his hands clenched into fists. "I don't like this. I don't like him near you. I don't like it either, but I'm handling it." "How?" "By not letting him win." She squeezed his hand. "By building a life that doesn't include him. By being happy despite him. And if he escalates, then we deal with it." She tried to sound more confident than she felt. Together. The word hung between them. Together. Like they were a unit now. A team. Like this thing between them was real and solid and worth fighting for. Ethan's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and sighed. "I have to go. Conference call with Tokyo in 20 minutes. "Go. It's fine." But before he left, he cupped her face in his hands and kissed her. Really kissed her. Not like the impulsive kiss at the restaurant or the soft forehead kiss at the pier. This was deliberate and claiming and full of promise. When they broke apart, Nia was breathless. "I meant what I said," Ethan murmured against her lips. "No more secrets." "Good." She watched him leave, her lips still tingling, her heart still racing. Outside, the rain had slowed to a drizzle, and the clouds were starting to break. Maybe this could work, she thought. Maybe they could build something real. But first, she needed to deal with Marcus once and for all. That afternoon, Nia was restocking supplies in the cafe's back room when Jamie stuck her head in. "Someone's asking for you." Nia's stomach dropped. "Who?" "Didn't give a name. Just said it was important." She followed Jamie out front, her heart hammering. "Please don't be Marcus. Please don't be." But it wasn't Marcus standing at the counter. It was a woman in her 50s, elegantly dressed in a cream sweater and pearls. Her blonde hair was styled perfectly, and she carried herself with the kind of confidence that came from money and power. "Nia Carter?" the woman asked. "That's me. I'm Catherine Hale, Ethan's mother." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Could we speak privately?" They sat at a corner table, far from the other customers. Catherine ordered nothing, just folded her hands on the table and looked at Nia with cool assessment. "I'll be direct," Catherine said. "My son seems quite taken with you. I like him too." "I'm sure you do." The words carried an edge. "Ethan's a good man. Kind, perhaps too kind sometimes. He has a tendency to see the best in people, even when it's not there." Nia bristled. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that my family is very protective of Ethan. He's been hurt before by people who wanted to use him. And while I'm sure your intentions are genuine," she paused meaningfully, "I wanted to meet you myself, to understand what kind of person my son is spending time with." "You wanted to vet me." "I wanted to meet you," Catherine corrected, but her meaning was clear. They stared at each other across the table. Nia thought about standing up and walking away, telling this woman to mind her business, but something stopped her. Maybe it was the mention of Ethan being hurt before. Maybe it was the protective mother bear energy that, despite the coldness, reminded Nia of her own mama. "I'm not using your son," Nia said quietly. "I didn't even know who he was when we met. And when I found out about the money, I was upset, because he hadn't told me, not because I cared about having it." Catherine's expression didn't change. "You work as a server." "Yes. And you recently left a difficult relationship." "How do you—" Nia stopped. Of course she knew. People with money always knew things. "Yes, I did. So you can understand why I might be concerned. A young woman, financially struggling, newly single, suddenly involved with my wealthy son." Heat rushed to Nia's face. "You think I'm a gold digger? I think my son is vulnerable right now. He's been under tremendous pressure at work. His father is pushing him to take on more responsibility, and Ethan doesn't handle stress well. He looks for escapes." Catherine leaned forward slightly. "I need to know that you're not just an escape." The words hit like a slap. Was that what she was? An escape? A distraction from Ethan's real life? "I should get back to work," Nia said, standing up. "Ms. Carter, thank you for the concern, Mrs. Hale, But what's between me and Ethan is between us, not you. She walked away before Catherine could respond, her hands shaking with anger and shame. Behind the counter, Jamie gave her a worried look. You okay? Fine. Nia tied her apron with jerky movements. Just fine. But she wasn't fine. Catherine's words kept echoing. He looks for escapes. I need to know that you're not just an escape. What if she was right? What if this whole thing, the restaurant kiss, the coffee dates, the feeling of connection, was just Ethan running from his real life? And when he got tired of running, would he go back, leave her behind? Nia had been an escape before. Marcus had used her as stress relief, someone to control when everything else felt out of control. She'd sworn she'd never be that again. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. His mother visited you? Wow, you really must be special. Or maybe just convenient. Emmy Marcus. He must have changed numbers after she'd blocked him. And somehow he knew about Catherine's visit. Was he watching her? Following her? Nia's hands started shaking so badly she had to set down the cup she was holding. Jamie, she said, her voice coming out small. I need to go home. What? Your shift isn't over for... Please, I need to go home right now. Jamie took one look at her face and nodded. Go. I'll cover for you. Nia grabbed her purse and practically ran out of the cafe. On the sidewalk, she looked around wildly, searching for Marcus in the crowd. Was he here? Watching? How did he know about Catherine? She pulled out her phone and called the one person she needed most. Mama, she said when Ruth answered. Can I come over? I need... Her voice cracked. I need my mama. I'm home, baby, Ruth said immediately. Come right now. I'll make tea. Nia caught an Uber with shaking hands, watching out the back window the whole ride, convinced every car was following her. By the time she reached her mother's small house, she was close to tears. Ruth met her at the door and pulled her inside without questions, just wrapped her arms around her daughter and held her while Nia finally let herself cry. It's okay, Ruth murmured, stroking her hair. Whatever it is, we'll fix it. I promise, baby. We'll fix it. But as Nia sobbed into her mother's shoulder, she wasn't sure anything could be fixed. Not Marcus's harassment, not Catherine's doubts, not the growing fear that maybe she and Ethan were too different, too damaged, too much for each other. Not the realization that for the first time in months, she'd let herself hope for something good, and now she was terrified it was all about to fall apart. Ruth's kitchen smelled like chamomile tea and the lemon cookies she always kept in the cookie jar. Nia sat at the small table where she'd done homework as a kid, where she'd told her mama about her first crush, where she'd cried after Marcus had called her stupid for the first time. Here, Ruth set down a mug and settled across from her. Now talk. Nia told her everything. The note under her door, Catherine's visit to the cafe, Marcus's text, somehow knowing things he shouldn't know, the fear that had been building in her chest like water rising. Ruth listened without interrupting, her face growing harder with each detail. First things first, Ruth said when Nia finished. We're getting you a doorbell camera, one that records, and we're documenting every single thing Marcus does. Mama, I don't think... No. Ruth's voice was firm. I let you handle things your way with Marcus before, and look where it got you. 2 years of manipulation, and now this. We're doing this smart. She pulled out her phone. I'm texting your Uncle Jerome. He's a police officer. He'll know what to do. Uncle Jerome's going to want to hurt Marcus. Good. Let him. Ruth's fingers flew across her screen. And as for this Catherine woman, honey, that's just a mama bear protecting her cub. I'd probably do the same if some girl showed up in my son's life. You don't have a son. You know what I mean. Ruth reached across the table, taking Nia's hands. But baby, what matters is how Ethan feels, not his mama. Does he treat you right? Yes. Does he make you feel small, controlled, like you have to be someone you're not? No, the opposite, actually. Then that's what matters. Ruth squeezed her hands. Now about Marcus knowing things, that's what worries me most. How's he getting this information? Nia had been wondering the same thing. Maybe he's following me, or maybe someone's telling him. Ruth's eyes narrowed. Who knew about Catherine visiting? Just Jamie, my co-worker. But she wouldn't. Probably not. But think about it. Who else could Marcus be getting information from? The question sat heavy between them. Marcus had always been good at gathering information, at finding ways to stay in control. During their relationship, he'd somehow always known where she was, who she was with. She'd thought he was just paying attention, being interested. Now she wondered if it had been something darker. I don't know, Nia admitted. But Mama, I'm scared. What if he shows up at work again? What if he comes to my apartment when I'm home? Then we call the police immediately. Ruth's voice softened. Baby, you are not alone in this. You have me, you have Tasha, you have your whole family, and it sounds like you have Ethan too if you want him. His mother thinks I'm using him. His mother doesn't know you. Ruth stood up, moving to the stove. Now you're staying for dinner. I made pot roast, and there's plenty. Mama, you should eat and rest and stop carrying all this weight by yourself. Ruth pointed a wooden spoon at her. That's what Marcus wanted, to isolate you, make you think you had to handle everything alone. But you don't. You hear me? Nia nodded, tears pricking her eyes again. Yes, ma'am. Her phone buzzed. A text from Ethan. Mom just called. I'm so sorry. She had no right. Can I come over tonight? Ruth read over her shoulder. She'd never believed in privacy when it came to her daughter's safety, and nodded. Tell him yes. I want to meet this boy. Mama, if he's going to be in your life, I'm going to know who he is. That's non-negotiable. Nia texted back, I'm at my mum's. If you want to meet her, you can come here. The response was immediate. Send me the address. An hour later, Ethan knocked on Ruth's door holding flowers, sunflowers and daisies, bright and cheerful. He wore jeans and a button-down, and he looked as nervous as Nia had ever seen him. Mrs. Carter, he said when Ruth opened the door, I'm Ethan. Thank you for letting me come. Ruth looked him up and down with the same assessing gaze she'd used on every boy Nia had ever brought home. You the one with the rich mama who thinks my daughter's a gold digger? Ethan's eyes widened. Yes, ma'am, and I'm so sorry about that. My mother was completely out of line. Ruth took the flowers. Well, at least you have manners. Come in. Nia stood in the living room, watching this unfold with a mix of horror and amusement. Ethan caught her eye and gave her a helpless look that said, help me. She just shrugged. He was on his own. Ruth led them to the kitchen where she put the flowers in water and pointed Ethan to a chair. You eat pot roast? Yes, ma'am. I love pot roast. Good answer. Ruth started filling plates. Now, Ethan, tell me about yourself, and I don't want to hear about money or companies. I want to know who you are. So Ethan talked about growing up in Connecticut, feeling trapped by expectations, about moving to Charleston to get some distance from his father's shadow, about loving the water, the slower pace, the way the city felt alive, but not overwhelming. Ruth asked hard questions about his family, his values, what he wanted from life. And Ethan answered honestly, never once trying to impress or deflect. When Ruth asked about his mother's visit, he looked genuinely mortified. My mum is protective, he said carefully, sometimes too protective. But that doesn't excuse what she said to Nia. I already told her she was wrong. You did? Nia asked. Called her as soon as she told me. Told her she needed to apologize to you. He turned to face Nia fully. My family doesn't get to decide who I spend time with. Or treat you like you're not good enough. He paused, choosing his words. You're the most genuine person I've met in years. Ruth made a small approving sound. And what about this Marcus situation? Ethan's jaw tightened. I want to help with that, however I can. How much do you know? Nia told me about the note, and now apparently he's texting her from new numbers. He looked at Nia. You should consider changing your number, and definitely get security for your apartment. Uncle Jerome's handling that, Ruth said. He's a police officer. He's going to file a report tomorrow, start a paper trail. Good. Ethan pulled out his phone. I also have a friend who does private security. With your permission, I'd like to have him consult on your apartment building, just to make sure everything's secure. Nia opened her mouth to protest. This was exactly the kind of thing they'd argued about, him throwing money at her problems. But Ruth spoke first. That would be appreciated, she said. Thank you. Mama, baby, this is about safety. Let the man help. Ruth looked at Ethan. But understand this. You help because you care, not because you think she can't handle herself. We clear? Crystal clear, ma'am. They ate dinner and slowly the tension eased. Ethan asked Ruth about her work as a nurse, listened to stories about Nia as a child, laughed in all the right places. By the time they were clearing plates, even Ruth was smiling. You can come back, Ruth declared as they stood to leave. But next time, bring your appetite. You barely touched your seconds. I'll do better next time, Mrs. Carter. I promise. Outside on the porch, Nia walked Ethan to his car, the vintage Mercedes her co-worker had mentioned weeks ago, now parked modestly on the street. Your mom is terrifying, Ethan said. She liked you. How can you tell? She didn't threaten to have Uncle Jerome arrest you. That's her version of approval. Ethan laughed, but it faded quickly. Nia, I really am sorry about my mother. What she said to you was, it's okay. It's not. No, it's not, Nia agreed. But I understand where she's coming from. She loves you. She's protecting you. From someone who doesn't need protecting from. Nia looked up at him, at the earnest worry in his eyes. Your mom asked if I was just an escape for you. From your real life, from stress. And I've been thinking, what if she's right? She's not. How do you know? Because an escape is temporary, something you run to when things get hard. He stepped closer, his hands coming up to frame her face. You're not temporary, Nia. At least, I don't want you to be. Her breath caught. Ethan, I know we've only known each other a few weeks. I know we've got complications. Marcus, my family, all of it. But when I'm with you, I feel like myself, the real me, not the version I have to be for my father or the board or anyone else. His thumb brushed her cheek. You make me want to be brave. That's supposed to be my line, she whispered. Then we make each other brave. How about that? He kissed her then, soft and sweet on her mother's front porch, with the evening crickets singing and the warm April air wrapping around them. When they broke apart, Nia was smiling despite everything. Go home, she said, before my mama comes out and asks your intentions. My intentions are very honorable, I'll have you know. Sure they are. He kissed her once more, quick and playful, then climbed into his car. Nia watched his taillights disappear down the street, her heart feeling lighter than it had in days. Inside, Ruth was washing dishes. He's a good one, she said without turning around. You think? I think he looks at you like you're the best thing that ever happened to him. Ruth glanced over her shoulder. And I think you look at him the same way. Just be careful, baby. Guard your heart, but don't lock it away completely. Yes, ma'am. Nia helped her mother finish the dishes, then drove home as the sky turned purple with dusk. She checked her rearview mirror constantly, watching for Marcus's car, but saw nothing suspicious. At her apartment building, she was relieved to see other residents in the parking lot, a couple unloading groceries, someone walking their dog. She wasn't alone, but as she climbed the stairs to her second-floor apartment, her phone buzzed. Another text from an unknown number. Cute how his mama came to check you out. Wonder what she'd think if she knew about your past. About the abortion. Nia stopped dead on the landing. No. The abortion had happened 6 months into her relationship with Marcus. She'd been 25, not ready for a baby, and Marcus had been furious when she'd told him she was pregnant, blamed her for being careless, called her stupid and irresponsible. She'd made the decision alone, told no one except Tasha, and dealt with the aftermath in silence. Marcus had never forgiven her for it, had held it over her head for the rest of their relationship, bringing it up in fights, using it as proof that she was selfish and cold. But no one else knew. Just her, Tasha, and Marcus. And now he was threatening to tell Ethan's family. Nia's hands shook so badly she dropped her keys. She bent to pick them up, her vision blurring with tears. This was what Marcus did. Found your deepest wounds and poked them until you bled. She finally got her door open and stumbled inside, locking it behind her, slid down to the floor with her back against the door, and let herself cry. Ugly, gasping sobs that hurt her chest. Her phone rang. Ethan. She couldn't answer. Couldn't let him hear her like this. It rang again, then a text. I know something's wrong. Please let me help. But how could he help? How could anyone help when Marcus knew her darkest secret and was willing to use it? Another text. I'm coming over. No, she typed back quickly. I'm fine. Just tired. You're not fine. I can hear it in what you're not saying. Please, Ethan. I just need to be alone right now. A long pause, then, okay. But I'm here when you're ready. Whatever it is, we'll handle it together. Nia set her phone down and pulled her knees to her chest. Around her, the apartment was quiet except for the sound of her breathing. Through the thin walls, she could hear her neighbor's TV, someone laughing, normal life continuing while hers fell apart. Her phone buzzed again. She almost ignored it, but something made her look. A text from Tasha. Emergency wine night. My place. Now. Don't make me come drag you out. Despite everything, Nia smiled slightly. Tasha always knew. Give me 30 minutes, she typed back. She picked herself up off the floor, washed her face, changed into comfortable clothes, looked at herself in the mirror, red eyes, blotchy skin, exhaustion written in every line of her face. But she was still standing. Marcus wanted to break her, wanted to make her small and scared and alone. But she had her mama, she had Tasha, she had Ethan, who'd told her they'd face things together. She wasn't alone, and she wasn't going to let Marcus win. Tasha's apartment was small and cluttered with art supplies. She was a graphic designer who worked from home, but it always felt like a refuge. When Nia arrived, Tasha took one look at her and pulled her inside. "Wine's already poured," Tasha said, leading her to the couch. "And I ordered Thai food. Now tell me everything." So Nia did. The note, Catherine's visit, Marcus's escalating texts, and finally, voice breaking, the threat about the abortion. Tasha's face went through several expressions: anger, worry, fury, then cold determination. "He's not going to tell anyone," she said firmly. "How do you know?" "Because if he does, he's admitting he knew about it and pressured you. He's admitting he was a terrible boyfriend who made you feel so alone you couldn't even tell your own mother." Tasha grabbed Nia's hands. "It makes him look bad, not you. His family won't see it that way. His family doesn't matter. The only person who matters is Ethan. And if you want to be with him, really be with him, you need to tell him yourself, before Marcus gets the chance." Nia's stomach turned over. "I can't." "Why not?" "Because what if he judges me? What if he looks at me differently? Then he's not the man you think he is." Tasha's voice softened. "Nia, you made a choice about your own body. That's not something to be ashamed of. Marcus made you feel like it was, but it wasn't. It isn't. I know that. Logically, I know that. But you don't feel it yet." "No." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Tasha said, "You know what we need?" "What?" "A plan. A real plan to deal with Marcus once and for all." She grabbed her laptop. "Let's document everything. Every text, every note, every time he shows up, we're building a case. Mama already has Uncle Jerome doing that." "Good. Then we're doubling up. The more evidence, the better." Tasha's fingers flew across the keyboard. "And I think you should tell Ethan. Not because you have to, but because Marcus is going to keep using this as leverage if you don't take away his power. What if Ethan can't handle it? Then you find out now instead of 6 months from now, when you're even more invested." Tasha looked up from her laptop. "But I don't think that's going to happen. I've seen how he looks at you, Nia. That man is gone for you." Nia wanted to believe it. God, she wanted to believe it. Her phone buzzed. Another text from Ethan. "I know you said you needed space, but I can't stop thinking about you. Whatever it is, whatever you're dealing with, I'm here. You don't have to face it alone." "See?" Tasha said, reading over her shoulder. "He's already proving me right." Nia stared at the message. Then, before she could lose her nerve, she typed, "Can you come to Tasha's? I need to tell you something." The response was immediate. "On my way." 20 minutes later, Ethan knocked on Tasha's door. When she opened it, he took one look at Nia's face and crossed the room in 3 strides, pulling her into his arms. "What happened?" he asked into her hair. Nia breathed in his scent, something clean and cedar-like, and tried to find the words. Tasha, bless her, made herself scarce, disappearing into her bedroom with her laptop. "Marcus texted again," Nia started. "He's threatening to tell your family something about my past." Ethan pulled back just enough to see her face. "What thing?" This was it. The moment that would either solidify what they had or destroy it completely. "When I was with Marcus, I got pregnant," she said, the words coming out quiet, but steady. "It was an accident, and I wasn't ready. We weren't ready. He was angry when I told him. Made me feel like it was all my fault." She took a shaky breath. "I had an abortion, and Marcus never let me forget it. He used it against me for the rest of our relationship, told me I was selfish and cold and—" "Stop." Ethan's hands came up to frame her face, gentle but firm. "Stop right there. Here it comes," Nia thought. The judgment, the pulling away. "You made a choice about your own body," Ethan said. "That's your right. And Marcus using it against you? That's abuse, Nia. That's him trying to control you through shame. You don't think less of me, less of you." He looked almost angry now, but not at her. "Nia, I think you're one of the strongest people I've ever met. You left someone who treated you horribly. You're rebuilding your life. You stood up to him in that restaurant." His thumbs brushed away tears she hadn't realized were falling. "And you trusted me enough to tell me something that clearly hurt you deeply. How could I think less of you?" Something broke open in Nia's chest, something tight and scared that had been locked away for months. She pressed her forehead to his chest and started crying again, but this time it felt different, cleaner, like washing away poison. Ethan held her through it, one hand stroking her hair, murmuring soft reassurances. "Marcus can't use this against you," he said when her sobs quieted. "Not if you take away his power. Tell people yourself if you want. Or don't tell anyone. It's nobody's business but yours. But don't let him make you feel ashamed. Your mother, my mother's opinion doesn't matter. What matters is you and me." He pulled back to look at her. "And I'm not going anywhere, Nia. Do you hear me? I'm not going anywhere." She believed him. For the first time since this whole thing started, she actually believed him. "Thank you," she whispered. "For what?" "For not being him." Ethan's expression crumpled slightly. "That's a pretty low bar." "Maybe, but you clear it by miles." He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, finally her lips, soft and reverent, like she was something precious. From the bedroom, Tasha called out, "If you two are done having your moment, the Thai food's getting cold." They broke apart, laughing. Ethan helped Nia to her feet, keeping one arm around her waist like he was afraid she might float away. Over pad thai and spring rolls, they made a plan. Tomorrow, Uncle Jerome would file the police report. Ethan's security friend would assess Nia's apartment, and Nia would change her phone number, finally cutting off Marcus's ability to reach her directly. "What if he shows up in person?" Nia asked. "Then we call the police immediately," Ethan said, "and if necessary we get a restraining order." "Will that work?" "It's a start, and it creates legal documentation if he violates it." Ethan's jaw was tight. "I won't let him hurt you, Nia. Whatever it takes." Later, after Ethan left with promises to check on her tomorrow, Tasha flopped onto the couch next to Nia. "So," Tasha said, "still think he's gonna run?" "No," Nia admitted. "I don't." "Good, because that man is in love with you." "It's too soon for—" "Girl, when you know, and he knows." Tasha grinned. "Question is, do you know? Did she?" Nia thought about how she felt when Ethan walked into a room, how safe she felt in his arms, how he'd looked at her tonight, not with pity or judgment, but with understanding and fierce protectiveness. "Yeah," she said softly, "I think I do." "Then stop letting Marcus's shadow hang over everything. You've got something real with Ethan. Don't waste it being scared." Nia nodded, but in the back of her mind, worry still nagged. Marcus wasn't done. She knew him well enough to know that. He'd keep pushing, keep escalating, until something broke. She just hoped it wouldn't be her, or the fragile, beautiful thing she and Ethan were building together. The next morning, Nia woke in Tasha's guest room to sunlight streaming through the curtains and the smell of coffee. Her phone showed a text from Ethan, sent at 6 a.m. "Good morning. Thinking about you." She smiled and typed back, "Morning. Coffee? Already at your cafe. Your usual is waiting." Nia dressed quickly and headed out. The morning was bright and warm, promising the kind of spring day that made Charleston feel like a postcard. She felt lighter somehow, like telling Ethan the truth had lifted a weight she'd been carrying for too long. At the cafe, Ethan sat at a corner table with 2 cups of coffee and a bag of croissants. He stood when he saw her, and the smile on his face made her heart skip. "Hey," he said, kissing her cheek. "Hey yourself." They sat down, and Ethan slid her coffee across the table, made exactly how she liked it. "I called my security guy this morning. He can meet us at your apartment this afternoon if you're free. You don't have to work. I'm the boss. I can take an afternoon off." He grinned. Perks of the position. They were eating croissants and making plans when Nia's phone buzzed. Unknown number. Her stomach sank, but when she opened the message, it wasn't Marcus. It was a photo of her and Ethan, sitting at this table, right now, with a caption, "Cute couple. Would be a shame if something happened." Nia's hands started shaking. She looked around the cafe wildly, searching for Marcus. Was he here, watching them right now? "Nia?" Ethan leaned forward. "What is it?" She showed him the phone. His face went dark. "He's here," Ethan said, standing up. "He's watching us right now." They both scanned the cafe, but there were too many people. Regulars getting their morning coffee, students with laptops, tourists taking photos. Marcus could be any of them, or none of them. He could be outside, across the street, anywhere. "I'm calling the police," Ethan said, pulling out his phone. "Wait." "No." His voice was firm. "This is a direct threat, Nia. We're calling them now." 2 police officers arrived within 10 minutes. They took statements, looked at the photo, and wrote everything down. Uncle Jerome showed up too, his face grim when he saw the message. "This is harassment and stalking," he said. "We've got enough now to pursue charges." "Will he be arrested?" Nia asked. "We'll bring him in for questioning, and you," Jerome pointed at her, "are filing for a restraining order today. No arguments." Nia nodded, too shaken to disagree. The officers left to start looking for Marcus. Jerome stayed, making sure she and Ethan got to their cars safely, watching as they drove away. At a red light, Nia's phone rang, Ethan's name on the screen. "Hey," she answered. "I'm following you home. Don't argue." She didn't. At her apartment, Ethan's security friend was already there, a tall man named James with kind eyes and an air of competence. He walked through her apartment, checking windows and doors, explaining what needed to be upgraded. Deadbolts on all doors, cameras at entry points, and I'd recommend a panic button system, James said. We can have everything installed by Monday. How much will that cost? Nia asked. Already taken care of, Ethan said. She started to protest, but he held up a hand. This is safety, Nia, not pride. Let me do this, please. She wanted to argue, wanted to tell him she could handle it herself, but she was tired of handling everything alone. And maybe, just maybe, letting someone help wasn't the same as being weak. Okay, she said quietly. Thank you. James left with promises to return Monday morning. Nia sank onto her couch, exhausted despite it only being noon. Ethan sat next to her, pulling her against his side. You're going to be okay. How do you know? Because you're strong, and because you're not alone anymore. He kissed the top of her head. You've got me now, whether you want me or not. I want you, she said into his chest. Good, because I'm not going anywhere. They sat like that for a long time, wrapped in each other, while the afternoon sun moved across the floor. Outside, police were looking for Marcus. Security systems were being ordered. Legal documents were being filed. But in this moment, in the quiet of her apartment with Ethan's arms around her, Nia let herself feel something she hadn't felt in a long time. Safe, and maybe, just maybe, loved. 3 days later, Marcus was arrested. He'd been found parked outside Nia's apartment building at 2 in the morning, violating the emergency restraining order that had been filed. The police had taken him in, and this time the charges stuck. Stalking, harassment, criminal trespass. He'll probably bond out, Uncle Jerome told Nia over the phone. But he'll have conditions. Stay away from you, no contact, the works. If he violates them, he goes back to jail. Is it over? Nia asked. For now. Keep documenting everything just in case. But yeah, baby girl, I think it's over. Nia hung up and immediately called Ethan. They got him. She could hear his exhale of relief through the phone. Thank God. How are you feeling? Weird. Like I should be happier than I am. You've been in survival mode for weeks. It's going to take time to feel safe again. He was right. Even knowing Marcus was arrested, Nia found herself checking over her shoulder, jumping at unexpected noises. Healing, she was learning, wasn't linear, but it was happening. That Saturday, Ethan took her to a small beach town north of Charleston called Seabrook. They walked along the shore, shoes in hand, letting the waves lap at their ankles. The May sun was warm but not too hot, and the salt air felt like medicine. I want to take you somewhere, Ethan said, guiding her toward a small cafe with blue shutters and window boxes full of flowers. Inside, it smelled like fresh bread and coffee. An older woman behind the counter looked up and smiled. Ethan, been too long, honey. Hi, Mrs. Jenkins. Ethan hugged her over the counter. I brought someone I want you to meet. Mrs. Jenkins looked at Nia with sharp but kind eyes. This the girl you've been talking about? You've been talking about me? Nia asked. Ethan's ears turned red. Maybe. He comes in here every Sunday, Mrs. Jenkins stage whispered, sits at that corner table, drinks black coffee and stares at his phone like it holds the secrets of the universe. I do not stare. You absolutely stare. Mrs. Jenkins winked at Nia. What can I get you to? They ordered sandwiches and lemonade, and Mrs. Jenkins shooed them toward a table on the small patio overlooking the ocean. The view was stunning. Endless blue water, fishing boats bobbing in the distance, seabirds wheeling overhead. I come here when I need to think, Ethan said. It's quiet, peaceful. No one knows me here, except Mrs. Jenkins. She doesn't count, she knows everyone. He took Nia's hand across the table. I wanted to share this with you. My place. Something warm expanded in Nia's chest. Thank you for bringing me here. They ate their lunch talking about easy things, favorite movies, worst jobs, childhood pets. It felt normal in the best way, like they were any couple on any date, without the weight of Marcus or Catherine or complicated families. After lunch, they walked the beach again. Ethan stopped suddenly, turning to face her. I need to tell you something, he said. Nia's heart jumped. Okay, I know we've been through a lot in a short time, and I know we're still figuring this out. He took both her hands. But I need you to know this isn't casual for me. You're not casual for me. Ethan, I'm falling for you, Nia. Maybe I already fell. He smiled slightly. That first night at the restaurant when you kissed me out of nowhere, I thought it was the most insane, brave thing I'd ever seen, and every moment since then, you've just proven me right. You are brave and strong and real in a way most people aren't. Tears pricked Nia's eyes. I'm falling for you too, so hard it scares me. Then let's be scared together. He kissed her there on the beach, with the waves crashing and the seabirds calling, and the sun warm on their faces. And Nia kissed him back, pouring everything into it, gratitude and hope and the terrifying, exhilarating feeling of falling in love. When they broke apart, both of them were smiling. "So," Ethan said, "what do we do now?" "Now?" Nia linked her arm through his as they started walking again. "Now we just live, one day at a time. I can do that." "Me too." And for the first time in longer than she could remember, Nia believed it. The hard parts weren't over. She knew that. There would be court dates for Marcus's trial. There would be more conversations with Ethan's family. There would be moments of doubt and fear and old wounds opening up. But there would also be this: walks on the beach, quiet mornings over coffee, someone who looked at her like she was extraordinary, someone who helped her remember she was worth fighting for, someone who made her brave. As they walked back toward the cafe, Mrs. Jenkins waved from the window. Nia waved back and Ethan squeezed her hand. "You know what?" Nia said. "I think I'm going to be okay." "You are going to be okay." Ethan kissed her temple. "And I'm going to be right here while you figure that out. Promise?" "Promise." And standing there in the sunshine with sand between her toes and Ethan's hand in hers, Nia let herself believe in promises again. Let herself believe in second chances. Let herself believe in love. The impulsive kiss that had started everything now felt like fate, like the universe had known what she needed before she did. Like sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is trust your instincts, even when they lead you somewhere unexpected. Marcus had tried to make her feel desperate and small, but she'd turned that moment into something beautiful, and wasn't that its own kind of victory? Nia smiled, squeezing Ethan's hand back. "Race you to the water," she said, already kicking off her sandals. "What, Nia, wait!" But she was already running, laughing over her shoulder, and after a moment of surprise, Ethan chased after her, his own laughter mixing with hers. They crashed into the waves together, cold water soaking their clothes, not caring about anything except this moment, this perfect, imperfect, beautifully real moment. And somewhere far away, Marcus's shadow kept shrinking, until finally it disappeared altogether, leaving only light, only hope, only love. The end.